Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everybody from all around the world, hello, welcome to another episode of the Welch Report with me, your host, Jean-Luc Welch. Let's make some noise, everybody. Clap it up, get excited wherever you are. We're back, we're here, we're live, and we're all gung-ho, talking about the world of boxing and beyond as we have a whole host of topics and discussions that we will be discussing with you on today. Ryan and Connor and Ben, we discussed it a little bit at the end of the show yesterday. Now we're going to do a full-blown deep dive into the preview of that fight as we are less than 30 days away from one of the most polarizing fights of the year, as well as asking the question, which SHAKUR Stevens, something that I've had on my mind since our last episode. Is SHAKUR a small boxer? And this is not going where you think it's going to go, because I know how some of y'all are going to feel about having that as a conversation. Trust me, you're going to want to stick around for that, because it's going to have a whole lot of different opinions that I want to hear from you all as to the answer to that question, as well as so much more other stuff involving the world of boxing and beyond, some stuff around the heavyweight world with Terra Moana, T Squared, as we call him here on this show. Just had another knockout win over what was it, Tuesday? Was it Monday or Tuesday? I think it was Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday morning that he fought got another knockout. His standing potential as he moves up into the heavyweight contendership as a young prospect looking to make some real runs as a threat and a knockout artist in this division. All that and so much more we'll be discussing with you all on today. And if you would be so kind, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. That's right. Come on, be a part of the hottest show in all the globe and subscribe to our community. Come join our channel and come join our empire today. Be sure to go ahead, hit the notification bell so you know whenever we post right here on YouTube. Also be sure to go through rate us 5 stars on every podcasting platform, Apple, Spotify, you name it, we are there. And if we're not, tell us, we will get there. Absolutely no doubt about it. As well as please be sure to go through, and if you can't support this channel, we have Cash App, PayPal, links down below in the description, as well as super chats, super gifts, stickers, and the like, all for your viewing and all for you to help us go and invest into this show and helps me to pay the bills and helps us to go through and make this show better for you to witness, listen, and enjoy. And please do the most important thing, which is to go through and share the show with everybody that you know, so we can keep on building up this empire together and growing this community oh so strongly and oh so forcefully. And we can't do this without you and your support, so we appreciate it oh so much. But without further ado, we had an action-packed show. We have a lot to cover, small amount of time to do it, so it's time to talk boxing. It's time to talk, shoot straight up sports, and it's time to step into the ring. Yes, sir. Let's get it started. Ring the bell. It's time to work. It's time to shine. It's time to get this place going, and it's time to have your voices be heard throughout the world of boxing. I mean, we already got people in the chat, like with It's Red Moon. What's going on with you? How you doing? Salute to you, and we appreciate you on the stream, and we thank you for the 2 jewels to our show with us today. And look, let's go on and start with the biggest of topics. I was going to do Ryan Garcia as the first potential conversation point, but you know what? Let's go on and jump in to the big fish of the day, which is SHAKUR. Oh yes. Oh yeah. SHAKUR. And this, we've asked this question about Tank roughly over a year and a half ago. And now we've come full circle and we're asking the same thing about SHAKUR. Is SHAKUR a small fighter? Now I know how some of you are going to feel about that topic. I can hear all the uproar and everybody wanting to jump through the screen trying to knock me out or straight up turn off the television. Please don't do that if you'll be so kind. Please don't. But if you know, you know. When we ask this question, this doesn't normally go the normal way of size being the biggest discerning factor to answer if this is true or not. This somewhat leads to a more mental aspect of the fight. Because with SHAKUR, with the way that he's moved, with the way he's signing with Zuffa, with after everything, the dust is kind of settled, with the whole drama with Keyshawn Shakur and Devin Haney, the fight that we wanted never actually took place, everything was looking to be very much a disappointment of sorts. And yet now we move through and we're looking at everything as is, and SHAKUR might not be in the same mental headspace that we thought he was moving as a fighter. Reason why is because he's moving like somebody who feels he's too small in boxing. If you remember in the past when we talked about Tank Davis, we said Tank was thinking the same way, and I was saying he had the capacity to fight like Roberto Duran. Do you remember? When we discussed this years ago, or a year or two ago with Tank, I was saying Tank could fight and get up to the level or do something similar in fighting above his weight class like Roberto Duran. I thought he was good enough to get to 147. Oh, yes, I did. Yes, I did. And many other people did too. This man was sublime when he was at the top of his game. Yes, we know what happened with Lamont Roach thus far. Understandable. We still want to see that rematch. But when he is locked in and fully on, we said this brother was going to be able to do whatever he wanted and move up to the big kahunas of the division with the real big players in play from a size perspective and still be able to dominate. He was that good. He was that special. He was that much ability laden to overcome his own legitimate short stature. But he never did it. Never moved. Never took advantage of that opportunity. Never walked the walk of what his greatness and skill was able to have at his discretion. Also, we want to make sure we thank you for the 30, and the one single jewel that you sent Red Bone. If we didn't say earlier, we appreciate it so much, and thank you for your support to our show. Without question, we appreciate all the love and all of the financial aid. I believe this is financial stuff that can come and help the show. Whatever the case may be, we appreciate it so much. We don't take it for granted. We can't take nothing for granted. But I digress. Back to the conversation at hand. Tank was moving adjacent to, or rather in a backward sentiment to what we thought his ability could elevate him to. And now with SHAKUR, with this opportunity with Devin Haney, and subsequently with him, all the other demands that he's made for 135, 140, 147, or more directly addressing the situations of he wants to fight Devin Haney at 144, he wants to fight Raymond Murataya at 135, he wants to fight somebody. Well, we thought he would be fighting at 140, but now it seems like he doesn't really want to be at 140 per some things he said, even though he's champion. We are now looking at him not just being on the island, not just him being alone, not just us asking questions about what he's gonna do next in his career. We don't know where he's comfortable at. More importantly, we don't know if he trusts himself to be able to go and fight at this level at 147. We're even at 140 with the way that he just doesn't have anything going on. We have to start asking, at least begin looking at the question. Does this brother think the same way that Tank thought? That some divisions, everywhere is too dangerous for him to risk something taking place. Even though we saw him be able to achieve greatness at the place that he was, that was already breaking the mold. Because right now, for somebody that's supposed to be one of the best in the world, for somebody that is supposed to be the man that runs the show in his mind as the guy that is the best in the sport, the man that's supposed to say my skills can deliberately pick apart anybody in the world without question, he is not moving like that or searching out for competition like that. What's worse is him calling out these higher level, upper echelon, bigger sized names like with Devin Haney or otherwise, and then still not moving through. And crazy enough, the brother that we said don't have a punch in Devin Haney is the main brother that is going through and calling out or moving up to bigger weight divisions consistently. When the biggest thing about him was he can't punch him, he can't hurt him, he can't tag him, so he's going to be a real dangerous threat to get beat at these higher weight classes because everybody can swat. And ever since Ryan Garcia, we've all been saying this brother ain't got a great chin, or at least most people have been saying, hey, he's in danger of getting caught and put down, yet he is still fighting above where the normal danger zone would be for him as a fighter. That is what we're dealing with. Looking at SHAKUR, or rather looking at Devin Haney versus SHAKUR. We got to ask, does SHAKUR think he's a small fighter? Because Raymond Murataya, but who we said wanted to fight him at 135, has not moved up to 140, the division that he currently is right now at in terms of SHAKUR, and he's still saying he wants to fight at 135. But he isn't. But yeah, and we've heard him say he'll call out Gary Antoine Russell. Sure, but has he actually committed to making a move to actually get that thing going? No. No negotiations. No reaching out. No paperwork. Nothing. Nobody else at that division has even sniffed his word or their names being uttered from his mouth to say, "Hey, I want to keep on moving through and achieving some greatness and chasing some hard hitting action." And at every single turn, when it's somebody that we say, okay, it should be something that makes sense. They're not a big enough name. The weight class is too high. Or I would love to fight you, but let's go at my more favorable opportunity at 135. Many of the ops that we've said we wanted to see him have are now all in the vicinity, but doesn't look like he's chasing him. Further imparted by the likelihood or rather by the willingness to sign with Zuffa, people are starting to ask these questions of, hey, you got the bag, you got the money. You were the one that told us that you can make any fight that you want. Yet now it seems like it's harder than ever for you to actually get stuff going. And for the most part, even Dana White being able to say, I'm willing to work with other promoters and other bodies of boxing. Something I don't want to do to make stuff shake and make stuff happen. Now, when we cross that threshold, okay, Dana's open to it, which I never thought I'd say, but you ain't doing the stuff to actually make the stuff move. And all that power that you said that you have, where is it being used? What is the use of it? What's the use of the need to say you got all this at your disposal, but yet everything still looks like you're behind the 8 ball of elevating your career, and the power that you said that you hold now doesn't really look as substantial anymore? A falsehood. The bag is still the bag. The money's still the money. The leverage is still the leverage. But what we thought this was going to be for Shakur ain't what we are seeing. From the standpoint of, how is it that you are in a position where you took a chance and yet you're being seemingly more stagnant than ever, when you're supposed to be able to say, I can do all the stuff that I was denied of because people didn't want to fight me. And now it looks like you don't want to fight other people. Devin Haney aside, everybody else, Murataya, Gary Russell, Dalton Smith, all of it, shoot, Andy Hiroka at 140, though he's not a champion, but he's still, again, with what he showed against Dalton Smith, or excuse me, against Gary Russell, everybody wants to see, that would be a good fight. But nothing. And the very fact that you are still having your name rattled around at 135, when after seeing you beat Tio, I don't want anything to do with you at those lower weight divisions right now. Specifically because most of those, like Schofield, like Abdullah Mason, are going to grow out of that division relatively quickly, similar to what we saw with Murataya just now, straining his body to keep at 135. Did a good job doing it, but now he's got to go and move up to get to the high weight divisions. All of that's going to happen, and you're still having your name rattled around at a division that is not just significantly lower, but is quickly being viewed at as the first pit stop of very exciting careers that within about 2 years, they're going to be moving to where you are right now. Maybe even less time. Because they're aging, they're moving, they're elevating, they are growing, and they're dangerous. You have a throne that you can defend right now. But yet there seems to be, from an outside perspective, an excuse for some odd reason for every single potential situation. Again, from the optics looking at it all, that should not be. I don't think that should be. I would guess most of you watching or listening or just around the world would also agree that don't sound right, does it? When it comes to a boxer making moves as supposedly one of the biggest names in the sport Yet all that leverage goes to waste without you even trying to enact it. We talk about Keyshawn Davis pump fake, and we're not going to forget Shakur pump faked as well. We can't let that be lost in the eyes of the public eye that Shakur Stevenson pump faked similar to Keyshawn Davis. It wasn't as bad because Keyshawn Davis got to the dotted line and he then said, okay, this is what you're going to get. You got the money. You got the opportunity. This fight is now a done deal. And then you go and walk away. That's egregious. We've covered that already. That's egregious. That's horrible. I got shorts for days I can make just off of that one instance of situation with Keyshawn. Oh, content's coming. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Better believe it. But in the grand scheme of things, still, Shakur also did that. And he's moving like a fighter who doesn't believe he can actually win at the bigger divisions that we know he can. And that's the biggest disheartening thing about it all. Because we know he can do that. We know we can win. We know we can succeed. We know we can, dare I say, thrive at these highway divisions. There is no bigger disappointment than watching Shakur have the spotlight on him and the belief behind him and yet doing nothing with it. It's not. There's no bigger disappointment right now than looking at you. Well, excuse me, let me rephrase it. There have been bigger disappointments like with Keyshawn, yes. But there is a underlying frustration with Shakur that people are starting to feel because he is just not operating like the fighter that he said that he was. And it's the worst thing in the world because he has the money, the titles, the leverage, and the belief from the public. People that said that he wasn't great. People that said that he wasn't all that. People that said that he was boring. People that said that he was lackadaisical in the ring from the standpoint of, I'm not paying money to watch you. People that did not want to see him succeed are now jumping behind him after being T.O., and saying, we think you can go and accomplish the world. You're that good that you can go and elevate and beat some of the best people out here. You're that good. You're that special. You got that much ability in you. You have us now watching you in a way that we weren't doing before from the standpoint of people that did not care for Shakur in the slightest. Haters have turned into believers. Lovers have turned into outright, I'm not going to say zealots, but stands in some degree. Defend you the kingdom come. You got the backing of the boxing world looking and saying, we think you're so good, you can take these chances unlike other people and be just fine. And you then see that, view that, hold that, and then you don't move with that same level of confidence in yourself. I'm not saying making excuses. What I'm saying is you are not pressing the issue of your ability. 140 and 147 should be able to be weight divisions that every single fighter that's elite, you can go and do what you want up there. Shoot. If you don't want to fight Devin Haney, Brian Norman and others could still be options. Even though Brian Norman is potentially in talks with fighting Keyshawn Davis, that is something that we may see down the line for, if I got my reports correct, I think $1.4 million, which we're going to get to Keyshawn and that Brian Norman fight as that's percolating in the world of rumors and boxing. We're going to get to that and how much this is a very, how do we say, fall from grace from what we thought we would see. Because I got a clip I got to play with Bill Haney is going to tell you exactly why he would have made more than just the $3 million if he had went and fought with Devin Haney instead of trying to go to purse bid. But we'll say that for later. Shakur specifically has the capacity, leverage, movement, and negotiating power that if he really did want to go and make this stuff happen, he could. He could be the A-side. I don't like using A-side, B-side conversations, but if we want to talk money, he would be the A-side in many of these fights. Even the fight with Devin Haney, you could argue, because of that one with T.O., what that did to him as a name when he was already, from the standpoint of skill-wise and respect, he was up there on that stage. Oh, it blew him up to Kingdom Come. Everybody wanted to see about him. He did. And now you are in the same position that Tank was in. And you're making the same mistakes that Tank made. You have the world at your feet. You have the mega fights that you've been asking for to say, this is what I desire. You have the body to go and get to those fights, make those weights, and not have any struggle at all. From a physical skill set and leveraging negotiation standpoint, you have all three big things needed to make any fight you want happen. Just like what we saw with Tank. The issue was with Tank, he did not make any effort. And you made an effort. And it was working. It was. T.O., Zepeda, loved them. Two of the biggest recent wins that you had. And we were all gung-ho. And then now you pump faked and then you stopped. More than stopped, you backpedaled. More than backpedaled, you made a demand. You said you wanted 144. Devin Haney said, I'll come to 144. And then after that, you did not take the fight. Off of what you said. Hiding from the public that you wanted an actual rehydration clause, which seemingly was the biggest thing that was rumored around as to why you did not take that fight with Devin Haney, which, per Bill Haney, got confirmed. But it was there. And you didn't even need to have the rehydration clause because you could make 147. And if I remember correctly, which is, I think some other shows have said this also, but I think we covered this as well. Way back in the past, Shakur Stevenson previously was saying he could fight at 147. Don't forget he had posted a picture on social media saying, I'm at 173. Do we forget that?
And he floats like a butterfly and hits like a tree.
That's what we were saying about it. Because all the biggest thing about that in the past, this cat, if he just put his punches together, I'm not saying he's a knockout artist, but he's got some real decent, he's got some good level combinations and some decent level pop. Sting at minimum. And he was able to weigh 173 in camp, walking around. His own post, not me making stuff up. 147, he looked the best physically we had ever seen. Dwarfing, crazy enough, a physical monster in Teofimo Lopez, who we've called one of the most athletic people in boxing today, which is true. And he made him look amateurish. Cut him up and bruised him up to Kingdom Come. It wasn't just because of pot shotting. It wasn't just because of, I'm tagging you. There was some stuff behind them punches. There was. You have all that right there in front of you. And then you do not make the move when the fight that fits your frame, your skill, and the money that you would desire is right there in front of you. How? All because you say you need a different demand. You've made different demands for every other weight class that you've been in since that whole situation with Devin Haney. I don't understand as to why when a couple years ago you were echoing the sentiments, I can fight at 147. That'll be just fine for me. It's all well and good. And if it is the situation where you are still fine with 147, you're just not fine with 147 against Devin Haney, that shows me and the rest of the public, maybe there's some fear. Maybe there's some fear. Maybe there's some fear. And that moniker of Debo continues to get stronger and stronger. When everybody was laughing about it, all of a sudden, now it's getting more apparent. This brother really is walking around like Debo from Friday. Because this cat continues everywhere he turns. Every time there's a challenger, somebody ain't trying to make a move to make the fight. That called him out or said, I can get up to where he's at. Feeding into that sentiment, making Devin Haney look like a better term weak. in the eyes of the public. And I think he can still do this great stuff and get up there. But if he don't, with what we've seen over the course of this last roughly month or so, with this whole debacle of conversation, we got to simply say this. Maybe Woody just really doesn't think he can beat Devin. Maybe. I hope he's not thinking like that, because I do think he can. But this is the opportunity you've been waiting on. It doesn't make sense of why you would not take the fight. Unless it was, I can fight at 147. And Devin Haney is worth my time. But because it's Devin Haney, I don't want to face that level of size up there. If it was somebody else, this wouldn't be a problem. Because it's him, it's a problem. What that speaks to now, oh, that's some dangerous stuff. That's some dangerous stuff. And that doesn't make him look good. At least with all due respect, it doesn't make him look good from the standpoint of the boxing public looking at Shakur and saying, is our belief unfelt and unjustly given because you think you're smaller than you actually are, only when it comes to Devin Haney. That's the case. That's dangerous. That is very dangerous for Devin. Also, let me see what you all got to say. G-Ball, what's going on with you? How you doing? Good to see you. We appreciate you on the show, and thank you for showing up and tuning into our Thursday edition of the Welch Report. Hopefully you're enjoying our show, and hopefully you're having a great time. Please leave a like on the stream. Keep on commenting your thoughts and opinions on the show. Keep on sharing the show with everybody that you know, and let's see what you had to say on the day in regards to the question of Shakur being a small fighter. Is that true, or is that just within his mind, specifically when it comes to Devin Haney? I want to hear your thoughts on it all as we continue to go through the world of boxing. Shakur Stevenson ducked all the smoke as soon as PBC signed to the zone. The last piece of the puzzle, all under one banner. Shakur ran to Zuffa and ducked the real smoke. That's right now. That is the bigger overarching noise around Shakur. This is the product of danger when you're dealing with a boxer. Boxing isn't like other sports where your play or your activity, your ability can sustain you even longer than the drama that may ensue. In basketball, you can have a lot of stuff going on behind you, but if you're still putting up 30 and 10, 30 and 15, 10, 10 and 5, well, not 10, 10, and 5, excuse me. Not 10, 10, and 5. If you're putting up 25, 8, and 8, and you have an all-star level seasons still, that can bolster the noise above whatever drama with trades or GM disputes or teammate issues, because you're still performing and the performances still overtake the hype of the issue. Because it changes the MVP conversation. NFL, locker room drama all abounding, but if you're 10-4 going into the latter half of the season, all of a sudden y'all still saying, hey, we can win. They still good. Performances can overshadow and drown out the noise. But with boxing, the performances can overshadow it, but it can quickly be overshadowed right back by drama. Specifically if it's self-inflicted drama. Performances don't always change the narrative of conversation. In fact, it can change it for the worse. Because we were just talking about Shakur as the best thing since sliced bread not too many months ago to start off the year. Shakur, David Benavidez were the two hottest topics of discussion because of the fight. And all of a sudden, it's turned into Shakur has still been talked about, but the whole conversation's flipped, forgetting the fight that he had with Tio. Why? Because it doesn't matter. Because right now, you got a better fight, and you're doing nothing with it. And everybody's saying the same thing. What the world? They're using that past performance as now a derogatory sentiment against you because of what you are not doing. You did it before. You can do it again. What the world is the holdup? Boxing ain't like other sports. And your performances can't just save you from everything that is negative. When you're adding negativity in your own right by what you do. Right now, that's what we're experiencing. And this type of talk and conversation, calling him Twitterson, going at him and saying, you talk more than you fight, you're the thing that you hate, you become another version of Tank. That's bad. But that's what's happening. That's absolutely what is going down. Also, I want to make sure somebody else came in the chat. I want to make sure we say, oh yeah, Dub Wingside, how you doing? Salute to you. Good to see you. We thank you for showing up on our live stream today. Please keep on liking the stream and keep on sharing the show. And we love and support. We love the support that you give to the channel without question. Let me see what you have to say on our show today. It's the size and skill. Sin like boxer. Think higher of Devin than fans. It seems like boxer thinks higher of Dev than the fans. Maybe. It may be. We for real. And look, I posted a short in the past, I think yesterday, about my opinions on what that fight would be like. I will say it again for those of you that didn't see it. I think SHAKUR would beat Devin Haney. Yes, I do. But like I said in the short, and like I said on that past episode, you got to do it. No matter what I say, you got to do it. And more importantly, the vast majority of the public, at least is split down the middle 50-50 as to how that fight would go. No matter how you feel about who you think is better, there's a lot of people that are saying, yeah, Devin Haney could beat him. Devin Haney could out-jab him. But SHAKUR, that distance, how do you beat somebody who, if you try to be defensive against one of the best defensive fighters ever, but I don't think you can win that battle. Because less mistakes with somebody who was more accurate. In SHAKUR, all of a sudden, the man in Devin Haney who does not want to engage is going to have to engage. Now what's he going to do? It's those types of, again, I'm not, that's not a full breakdown of the fight. That simply is a one instance of conversation that makes this fight so exciting. Everybody's looking at this and saying we have ourselves an interesting dynamic of conversation, one that we can't ignore. We want to see this because it's unpredictable. And that clash of similar styles could potentially lead to a fight that we may never have expected. Because somebody's going to have to change. Somebody's going to have to do something they don't want to do in this fight. We want to see it. And we viewed SHAKUR and Devin as at the same playing field. And the ring put SHAKUR above Devin Haney, significantly above Devin Haney. We forget the pound for pound discussion. SHAKUR was at 5. Devin Haney was at 8 or 9. The last win against Brian Norman got him back in the conversation for pound. We can't forget that. We can't forget that. That was a point in time when everybody was saying this.
Hey, look at this. We got the problems.
Everybody was saying this.
We got the problems here.
Oh gosh, Lord, that coffee's bitter. Oh shoot, I'm sorry. I didn't put enough sugar in that. That's strong. But I'm sorry. I didn't expect that. I digress. Also, hey, Duncan or anybody who's a coffee company, you want to sponsor me? We drink coffee every week or every episode. Come on. I would love to have you as a brand sponsor to provide me with some grounds to drink. I digress, though. I digress. The ring had him at 5 or 4 in SHAKUR. Some people had SHAKUR as the best in the world or top 3 after that win against Tio. Devin Haney beating Brian Norman got him back into the conversation top 10 because he was out of the conversation. That thing I just played with Jim Ross, WWE commentator, Hall of Famer, screaming and yelling, we got a problem. That was what the public was saying before that fight with Brian Norman Jr. because Devin Haney had gotten whooped by Ryan Garcia, ran against Jose Ramirez, somebody that was significantly worse than him, and had everybody questioning what he was as a boxer. Hey, brother, is he shot? Is he really that good? Can he even fight like the old Devin Haney? Just doing his normal framework of jabbing and being long and quick with his lead hand. Can he even get back to that, or is he just scared to get hit by anybody in the world? Is he mentally shot, mentally scarred, mentally scared? Everybody was concerned. Beating Brian Norman in the way that he did got him back into the spotlight of conversation of you are a pound-for-pound level fighter. Great. You beat the boogeyman at 147, the brother who was seen as the best at welterweight, knocking everybody out and putting him to sleep. Everything was gung-ho. But that only got him to 8. So even the experts were saying that SHAKUR was at that level. Better, than Devin Haney. And it seems like the boxer doesn't believe in himself. Or more so, to take a fighter like that on, it's going to take a lot more substantial, cautionary situations to make sure stuff ain't unfair. That don't sound right to me. That don't sound good to me. That don't sound proper for somebody who, even if Devin Haney was so big, you should still be able to beat him if you believe you're that good. Don't forget, I think we got sparring footage of both of them in the ring. To my knowledge, again, I think we had some sparring footage leaked of them in the past fighting against each other. It's like with Keyshawn and Devin Haney, when they had sparring footage that was recorded and got sent to the internet, and everybody was able to see what happened. I believe it was a similar thing that happened with SHAKUR and Devin Haney. When they sparred against each other, somebody leaked their training footage. Now, we're not saying that training footage is the thing that leads to what the fight's going to be like. Every situation like that is not, you're training, you're working on stuff, you're getting yourself better by doing specific things. You're not actually going through in a full fight scenario. So it's not indicative of what a fight would actually look like. The only time we've seen that on this show, that it's echoed the sentiments of the fight in the sparring was the fight in the ring, was Benavidez versus Zurdo, where he beat him the same way that he beat him in sparring years ago. The exact same way. But they don't happen often. But based on what we saw in that fight, you could more than hold your own. And there were some situations in that sparring footage where you got Devin Haney in the corner. You were able to pressure him and make him miss when he was trying to back up. And you forced him into a situation where, oh no, my back's to the post. Successfully being defensive while walking forward was something that made Devin Haney be wary of you. Perfect. My gosh. You can close the distance and get around that jab. At least in what we saw, we were all well and good. And now you don't go and take advantage of that and fight him up there where you will probably be even stronger, probably be even more physically fit on your end as well. Probably look better than you would look at 140, if we're going to be completely honest. But you ain't taking it. It's a frustrating thing. And it echoes a sentiment of fear that we don't want to apply to you, but some people are going to start applying that to you. Whether that's fair or not, they're not going to care. Because all they care about is you making the move of doing the thing that you said you wanted to do. Plain and simple. Without any other framework of context. Because the context was you did ask for the fight at a weight division, catch weight at 144, and the answer was yes, and now you went away. All other context or reasoning as to why that decision was done goes out the window for most people because you got what you asked for. Now you just look scared to many. You just look scared. You just look scared. That's it. You just look scared to people. And so that's the idea that people have of you. And with all these other situations like Keyshawn also happening back to back, with you not taking the fight as well, it's muddy. Sentiment's turning. Just like I did with Tank. Sentiment is turning negatively. And all that momentum is going to be gone from what he had at the start of the year. It's going to be bad. It's gonna be really bad. But let me keep on reading your thoughts and opinions. Shakur is not small. He almost the same size as Bud next to him. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Yes. He's almost as big as Bud. Bud is bigger, absolutely. Of course, Bud can get to 190 if he really wanted to from the standpoint of his physical weight. But size, height-wise, they're not too far off. He's still shorter. Again, it's Bud, but it's we see it comparable. It's comparable. You sparring with Bud or worked with Bud for a number of years. He's one of your mentors. If anything, you should be taking his lead and saying, I'm good enough that I can face off against Devin Haney and I can fight him at 144, 147, whatever the case may be, and I'm just that good that I'll take him out without an issue, without a problem. That's all. We believe it. People believe it. You just got to make stuff shake. You just got to make stuff shake. That's the only thing. Let me see. He ain't small for his class. He's not. He's not. And again, like I said before, for those of you that may be new, also, Teddy Berkshire, I didn't even get to say, hey, how you doing? We appreciate you on the show. Thank you to everybody who's coming in on the chat. We appreciate you on our live stream and joining in on our show today. And we're going to see other people and get in touch. And we are going to talk heavyweight. We are going to talk Terrell Moana and his performance later on in the show. We still got some time. But right now, we got a lot of people discussing the whole Shakur thing. So we're going to, answer your questions first. And then we'll move on to the other topics of the show. Like with Ryan Garcia, Terrell Moana, Conor Benn and his potential winning and all that stuff in this show today. So Terrell Warner is probably is a problem. That big Samoan, and I'm gonna tell you, we're gonna talk about Terrell Warner later on. We're gonna talk about him later, but I don't know if I'm as sold as I was initially. It's because of he's 12-0 now, but I need to see something different from the opposition that he's fighting. Because now, once you get to 12-0, if we're following the Moses the Town route, this time you need somebody, not just more experienced, but that is against what you normally go against. Get somebody faster, quicker, that can move. Let me see what you can do. Because if I want to buy you as a real contender up here, as much as I know the power's there, I need to see how do you catch people that are better at being elusive, rather than just the fat folks that are staying in place. And I don't say fat negatively. I'm saying these brothers are big, yes, but they're not mobile at all. And would you be able to knock out big time people? They can definitely go through, and okay, you're knocking out people 260, 280. Okay, your power, it is affecting body and head. That's not, that is good. Somebody 290, you can still put to sleep. Great. But now, somebody who's 250, 240, 230, but they're able to outmaneuver you, what can you do? We know you can knock them out. That's not the issue. It's about you being able to take them and get to them and sustain the level of attack without you, number one, gassing out, and number two, getting pot-shotted or potentially countered to Kingdom Come because you can't deal with that level of mobility and somebody that's also able to potentially get to you as well. So the competition needs to level up. But again, we'll discuss that later on in the show. Johnny Blaze, how you doing? Good to see you. We thank you for tuning in and listening to our show on today. Shakur is a 140-pounder. At this point, but 147 shouldn't be out of this world to ask for. If not, stop talking about guys at 147 like Haney, Ryan, and Benn. Nobody about to do a catch weight for the Beaver. Beaver may be a new nickname. Oh, so you had a pocket. Oh, excuse me, the Duck. Is that a Beaver actually? No, that is a Beaver. You had a pocket. Hey, look, Johnny, you had a pocket. Hey, brother. Hey, man. You had a pocket. You had a pocket. You had a pocket for that. I'm not going to laugh. I'm not going to laugh. I can see it. I'm not going to laugh at that. I refuse to stoop to that level of this brother looks like a I'm not going to laugh. I'm gonna keep my composure. All right, I'm gonna keep my composure. Okay. Y'all? Let me tell you something. I'm gonna tell you this. The one thing I like about the sports world, sports Twitter, NBA or beyond, it's some of the funniest stuff. Cause some of the things that y'all be coming up with to go and get at fighters or just athletes in general, it's comedy abounding. I don't know how y'all are this funny. But this is it's so disrespectful. But dang it, I can't. Y'all are crazy. I would just say that y'all are crazy. But let's get back to the topic at hand when it comes to your chat. Yeah, 147 is not out the realm, but you keep talking about the higher weight classes. That's where the issue comes into play. You put your hat inside the ring to say, hey, I want to pick it up. Let's not forget, do we need to bring up what happened in the past when it came to Devin Haney and SHAKUR getting in the ring with each other, looking to get a fight with each other, trying to get a potential opportunity where they're going to be facing off? Do we need to bring up what happened when they were in the same ring together? Because there was a point in time, one of the more iconic showings of the sport, or at least one of the more iconic pictures that we see with SHAKUR and Devin Haney, were the both of them standing in front of each other when SHAKUR stepped in the ring after Devin Haney, I believe, beat Lomachenko or had some fight at 135. We was eyeballing them up. Because if we were saying that fight can happen then, and I can't even remember if SHAKUR was at 135 fully at that point in time. But I do remember that he had stepped in the ring and essentially said, I want to call you out. I want that fight next. Let me get something happening. Because, here's the picture. Here's the picture of that exact interaction. This is not something that we are just trying to bring up. You went and threw yourself in this very ring. Yeah, this is after Lomachenko. You went and put yourself here. You staring at this brother like a piece of meat, saying that you literally, this is like a documentary. The young lion hunting the old lion that's moving up, and he sees this pride will be his in the future. This was literally you when Devin Haney had beaten Lomachenko. And yet, with this in your direct view, you had it. You got here. That's why this is so bad. You got here. You got exactly where you wanted to be, and you got exactly what you showed the public that you desired with this position. You were directly in front of Devin Haney to have a shot at everything that he stood for and everything that he held in high regard. His life, your greatness, you were about to attach his boxing tenure, Devin Haney's legacy, was in your vicinity to be able to add to your own belt of legacy. It was right there. And this very image of you staring down what would be the biggest prize in your career got made a reality over these last 3 months, and you walked away from that. I can't say anything except for, brother, where is the hunger? Where's the hunger? Where's this look? Where is this? Where is this? Because this SHAKUR would have taken that fight with Devin Haney if the same opportunity was given. If we're going to go off what he said back in history. This SHAKUR would have taken that fight with Devin Haney. What happened? What happened? That's what we have to ask. What happened between then and now that has us moving in a whole new way where you are no longer eyeballing Devin Haney with that same level of intensity, hunger, and want to go and make something shake. Where is it? That's what we had to ask. It's a frustrating thing. Let me see. Love King, how you doing? Good to see you. We appreciate you on the show. Salute to you. Also, DK, what's going on with you as well? Thank you for showing up and showing out and tuning in to our show on this Thursday afternoon. Hopefully you're having a phenomenal time. Hopefully you're enjoying everything that we're discussing on today. We cannot ignore Haney said yes to 144 instead of SHAKUR saying yes. He didn't say he had to drop the belt before he was signed. Wait, hold on. We cannot ignore. Haney said yes to 144 instead of SHAKUR saying yes. He didn't say he had to drop the belt before he would sign the contract. That is true. That is true. And don't forget, if we want to talk about titles, whether it would or would not be a major issue, in the context of this conversation, especially with what SHAKUR had said in regards to what the belts mean to him, he said personally, I'm not going for undisputed. The day he signed with Zuffa, he said, undisputed does not interest me. I'm going after the names of boxers. I don't care to go and fight undisputed. I don't care to go and fight undisputed for all the belts. That's not my concern. I want the names in the fights that fans say that they want to see. That was what SHAKUR said directly after signing with Zuffa in an actual interview on their own social medias. We played it here. We put up the quotes here the day that it happened, or the week that it happened. So the belt art shouldn't even be a big time factor, because the name to you was worth more than anything else. But again, that hunger that we saw back then, in those eyes, where is that same fervency now? That's all I'm asking. That's all I'm asking. And so it's a shame. Let me see. He needs a Hunter or a Rottman Jr. Oh, in terms of Terry Moana, yeah, give me 5 minutes and we about to touch on that, because yes, I'm gonna give you exactly who he needs to fight next to actually go and make stuff shake. We're gonna touch on that. We want to make sure we get the big stuff going first, and then the heavyweights and all other stuff we'll get on afterwards. Right now, the second topic of discussion that we do need to discuss is, at least a little bit, Ryan Garcia and Conor Benn being a month away. We at least need to talk about that a little bit. Just a little. We need to discuss this because it is now less than 30 days from one of the most polarizing fights of the year in Ryan Garcia and Conor Benn going against each other for Ryan Garcia. Well, actually, not even for Ryan Garcia's belt potentially, because it could be just for the Zuffa type. No, I'm wrong. Zuffa's not promoting it as the WBC title on the line, but the WBC title is on the line for Ryan Garcia and Conor Benn, with Ryan Garcia being the defending champion. Now, we also understand Conor Benn coming down, dropping weight, coming down to 147 after fighting at 154, and before that, fighting at 160. My gosh. And we already posted the pictures of the weight situation with Conor Benn fighting against Ryan Garcia, and the difference between what he looked like preparing for Chris Eubanks versus what he looks like now preparing for Ryan Garcia is a whole different night and day situation that has everybody drawing some big concerns, drawing some major eyeballs in a negative light surrounding the likes of Conor Benn. I'm telling you right now, the same sentiment I said earlier. I think this bud's gonna get beat up and get put to sleep. And I'm scared. I'm petrified. Because this looks terrible. This looks terrible to me. And again, I'm not beating a dead horse. I'm leading into the conversation that we started yesterday, going in fuller detail today. Posting some more stuff that we weren't able to post last time we were here on the show. This is still scary to me. The difference in size, the difference in muscle tone, the difference in fullness, and just the difference in muscle density. This buddy looks frail compared to what he was at earlier. This buddy may look like I'm scared he's going to get knocked out. And that power is going to be buzzing. And I dare say his own speed at 147 may be greatly diminished because this cat is going to be so drained he can't move like he wants to, let alone be able to punch like he wants to. His greatest speed is his greatest advantage has always been his explosiveness as a fighter, yet at this much of a weight drained caliber situation, it could be it could be worse. It could be immensely worse. He may not even have that going in to this fight. So it's a dangerous situation. But even beyond just that, the speed, some people feel a little bit differently about how this fight's going to go. And real quick, let me see. Benn looks sick dropping weight like that. He does. But that ain't phasing some people in saying that he's still going to be able to win. One of them being Bomac. And this time, we should be able to hear this time we should be able to hear what Bomac has to say in regards to his idea of who's going to win this fight. Hopefully, unlike yesterday, everything works out smoothly and we can watch this fight. Bomac himself had chimed in on exactly how he felt this fight was going to go and who he thinks is going to win. And crazy enough, he is picking Conor Benn to beat Ryan Garcia. And I'll let him tell you why. And we'll delve into the reactions afterwards to what he had to say. But this is Bomac talking about this fight with Ryan Garcia and Conor Benn and giving his thoughts on why Conor Benn would knock out Ryan Garcia. Listen, I really hope this worked this time. Last time, ooh, buddy. Please.
Ryan Garcia, Conor Benn.
Conor Benn gonna probably stop him.
What? Really?
He gonna probably stop him, man. Ryan ain't been to since that first fight with Haney. And he got popped. He just had never been he never got back to that type of winning. I've seen Benn firsthand. Man, that dude, he gonna destroy you. You heard it first. You heard it first from Bomac.
I hear you. We got it.
So again, Bomac feels Conor Benn's gonna stop Ryan Garcia. That I'm gonna say this. Bomac, if he's saying that, he definitely sees something that many of us, myself included, ain't seeing. Because right now, no matter how you feel about him, he's one of the best minds in boxing that we've seen be able to pick apart the weaknesses of his opponents, no matter who he's been up against. Specifically with Terrence Crawford, but with other boxers as well. I don't agree with his opinion. But I understand why he would say that. He would say that because the aggression of Ryan Garcia, the aggression of Conor Benn, if it did work out, added on with the patience that he showed against the likes of Eubanks Jr. Combined, that could be a dangerous weapon. Worse than what we saw with Rolly Romero. I can attest to that. It's just the fact that I don't think that yin and yang combination is going to show up with Conor Benn on that night because he's never been able to keep that together every fight he's been in. And we're dealing with a brother who, again, might fall into the Roy Jones trap. He's losing muscle, not just losing body weight. He's losing muscle down here. Everything that we think can work. Explosiveness, the sharpness, the ability to close the gap so quick, the ability to jump on the mistakes with, reckless aggression, but aggression nonetheless that is too fast to fail. That would work if that was his frame, but that's not his frame because of where he's at now. It's going to be a whole different game in a negative light. If his body cannot hold down here at 147, which if you also didn't know, this is going to be his last fight. And for good reason, for very good reason. Let me see. Bomac and Bud are cool with Benn and don't like Ryan. Just a biased pick in my opinion. Now that also could be a situation. That also could be a situation. Let's not forget Ryan Garcia made a bunch of enemies. Don't forget that. Don't forget that. He made a bunch of enemies now.
We got some problems here.
He has made a bunch of enemies in light of him going on that racist tangent a couple years ago, being very much polarizing in many regards in a negative way. He's made a lot during that stint in time. He made a lot of bad heads turn away from him because of his action. It could be a little bit of bias. It could. I'm not going to deny it. It could. But I am going to say, I'm not, if Bobek is that confident, that's one of the few people I can say, okay, something might be there. And it makes me at least cause for pause to say, what is the thing that could be Ryan's biggest danger? If Conor Benn was able to fight against him. It just makes me think a little bit. Let me see. I got Ryan winning this one. Yeah, I do too. Let me see. Raekwon, what's going on? How you doing? Good to see you, and thank you so much for tuning in to our show on today. Let me say, Jean-Luc, thank goodness you're here. Please, can you tell my cousin please tell my cousin that, I want to say Cisco. I've always said his name wrong. I don't know why I can never say his name right. But I'm going to say it. If I do get it wrong, I apologize. Cisco is one of the greatest rappers of the early 2000s. He got great vocals, and the thong song he sang became a platinum hit. So, I'm not going to say greatest. I will say he was one of the peak that he reached was up here. Because, the thong song, it was up here. Yeah, you couldn't get away from him. I don't know if he was the outright best of that 2000s, that early 2000s era. But when that song definitely stuck out more than most as one of the songs of that period. I don't know if he was the best. But he definitely, it's like the breakout stood longer than many other songs individually. And his name kept in the ringer because of that song for a minute. But I don't know if I can say he's the best of the 2000s. Now, who it would be, I'd have to think. But that is a good question, though. Music-wise, that is a good question. I would have to think about that, though. I'd have to think. I'd kind of go back to now, granted, I was a child now. I was a child in the 2000s. So what I heard was a little bit after the hype, but the backlog, learning music, learning what was going on in that era, it's an interesting conversation. But I wouldn't say that from what I've learned, I don't think he was the guy. But I think he hit the heights that very few hit at that point in time. But again, that's just me. That's just me because of that song. But let me see. Von Green, how you doing? Good to see you. Thank you for showing up and tuning in to our show. I don't see Conor Benn stopping Ryan, but I can definitely see Conor knocking him down. Now, this is a good point. Hold on now. Wait a second. Wait a minute. You hit something very poignant on the head. If he's able to knock him down, he can win the fight. I think that's what we're also missing about it. If he is able to knock down Ryan Garcia, he can win the fight. Because that's the thing. That's what happened with Rolly Romero. Because Rolly knocked down Ryan Garcia, it stopped Ryan's aggression or willingness to throw, though he had because of that fight, because of the broken hand and the very rudimentary offense that he had at that point in time, he wasn't able to be confident to throw the left hook, and all he wanted to do was just throw his jab. That's it. Because he didn't want to risk, oh shoot, I don't have an answer to respond if this guy lands that leaping hook again. And I don't got the weapons to get in the range like I want to. There is a danger that if Ryan Garcia gets knocked down in this fight, that same relapse of thinking is going to happen again. Yeah, it's real. It's real. He can get beat. The knockdown is the biggest piece to that puzzle. If Conor Benn does not knock down Ryan Garcia, he has no shot at beating him. But if Conor Benn does knock down Ryan Garcia, well, that changes everything. Right now Conor Benn is leading the contending ship to beat Ryan Garcia because it's going to stop Ryan Garcia from wanting to work. At least there's a chance that that's going to happen. The other half of this equation is the fact that Ryan Garcia could also take that knockdown and turn into an even more rolling thunder force because he's been knocked down 3 times in his career. It's been 4 times in his career against 3 separate fighters. Tank, Campbell, Rolly. To my knowledge, at least those are the 3 most significant. Against Tank, he got up from the first one. That was a clean counter to the head and kept on moving forward. Yeah, he got hit in the broken rib area and he wasn't able to get up and all that stuff. Everybody called him a quitter. Understandable. But the first knockdown, he got up and he responded by still trying to apply the pressure. Didn't let that phase him or didn't let that stop him from trying to implement his physical framework of style. That was the first time. Second time, well, excuse me, the second instance, though it was before Tank, was Campbell. Campbell, over in I think the UK, or it might have been over here in America, Campbell knocked down Ryan Garcia with a shot that looked like it put Ryan Garcia out cold. It looked like it put Garcia out cold. Hands were down, brother went stiff, and that brother was going, yeah, I mean, it was timber. It was timber and fall hard. It was bad. And Ryan Garcia got up, and I think in 2 rounds knocked out Campbell to the body and did not let that willingness of still being aggressive stop, all because of that knockdown and ended with a highlight reel KO on Ryan Garcia's end. That was the second instance. And the third was Rolly. Rolly is the only instance where the knockdown changed everything about Garcia's style. So it's honestly a flip of the coin. If it's like the first 2 times that we've seen Garcia get knocked down, he's going to respond by still being aggressive and, if anything, amp up the physical aggression on his end. But in the off chance that it's the third time with Tank, where he got, it's the third time with Rolly, where he got knocked down and he was afraid to really let his hands go at all. Now it's in the bag for Conor Benn if that's how Ryan is thinking. So it's a matter of, if Ryan does get knocked down by Conor Benn, what knockdown are we going, what type of response are we going to see? That's the question for this fight if Conor Benn knocks him down. You got a 1 in 3 chance that Ryan Garcia is going to get scared to throw. But based on history, you got a 2/3 chance that this cat's going to try to come in and not just get his get back, but actively change his whole aggression style to make him more prone to knocking you out. Because he really puts the pedal to the metal and bites down on his mouth guard. If any of those situations happen that ain't the conservative, scared nature, like with Rolly and Ryan Garcia, Conor Benn might be in trouble. But if it is that Rolly situation and he gets scared to throw like he did when Rolly caught him, now you're dealing with Conor Benn's got a real good shot to win this fight. Especially that knockdown's early. Especially if it's early. I'm so serious. Let me see. Still trying to read everybody's chats. Timothy Taylor, Showbiz, the adult triggered Shakur into banning him by saying Shakur is whatever weight class his op is in. You know what? I did see that drama. And he did ban him. And like I said, I don't get his channel, his thing is his thing. I will say that point that he brought up was a valid point because that's what fans are looking at Shakur as now. You've had 3 people from 3 separate divisions call you out, and every single time you've had something said that makes the fight at that division not possible. You want to fight at 135 against Murataya, but then Shock says, I'll fight you at 140. but you don't want to fight Shaq at 140 because you're comfortable at 135. But now Murtaya was at 135 and you didn't want to fight him. But now Murtaya's at 140 and you're still echoing that you want to fight at 135. You beat Tio and you got championships at 140, but you want to fight at 147. You want to fight Devin Haney. Devin Haney says you can't, but then you fight at 144. Devin Haney said, I'll still fight you at 144. But then you don't take the fight because you still want to fight at 135. But at 135, the guy that wanted you is at your division in Murtaya at 140. But you don't want to fight him. So 135 is the size that you want, but it's also, the names aren't big enough. But then the names are at your division, but you don't want to fight them because you want to move up. But you want to move up, but you don't want to go up to 147 for Devin Haney, so you want to stay at your division or fight at 144. And then if you do fight at 144, well, nah, I don't want to do that because I still want to fight at 135. Do you see how confusing that is? Do you see how, in some degrees, hypocritical that constant carousel of rotation of thought process is when we're discussing what Shakur said versus what Shakur does versus what Shakur has alluded to wanting to do? It's just an endless cycle of there's a reason to not to do something at every single division. When you said you can make whatever fight that you want. In that sense, yeah, Showbiz was right. He was right to bring that up. Because as much as this is a business, common sense is still going to be something that we're not going to ignore simply because, oh, you're trying to make money. And you are trying to make money. We're saying you would have made money. The money ain't the problem in this situation. Now it's about you. Because you've echoed sentiments in specific instances against multiple fighters by name. And then when those instances become a reality, you have made a reason to say somebody doesn't fit the bill for some way or another when they did fit the bill that you requested earlier. I don't understand. Neither does the public. And we don't care about the X's and O's of the money. We care about what you say and what you do from the fans' perspective. Now, on this show, we give context to everything, absolutely. But that doesn't change what the average brother and sister thinks when it comes to the world of boxing. But they don't know, nor do they really care about what you're going to walk away from. We know what we're going to pay for. And we know exactly what you said. History is not something that we can just forget. That's the whole thing. That's the whole thing. And my God, it can be so much easier. Let me see. Ryan on Royds is unbeatable. Just saying. And I'm sure they're gonna have a PED off this fight. Hey man. I'm gonna tell you this. Because of the PEDs that took place with both of their careers, whoever loses this fight is going to have a whole litany of conversation going against them, all because, hey brother, you couldn't get it done without the drugs. It's going to be bad. The vitriol because of this fight with the PEDs is going to be bad on anybody who faces off and comes out of this fight the loser. Unless it's an all-time classic. They're going to get clowned. Really clowned. Don't let somebody actually pop in this fight. Good gosh, that's going to be, shoot. At this point, would they even cancel it? Because of the fact that y'all done it before. I'm just saying. Would they even cancel it? Would they even cancel? I don't know. I don't know. Let me see. Conor Benn is already severely weight drained a month before the fight. Conor going to have zero punch resistance, similar to when Chad Dawson fought Andre Ward, was severely weight drained. And yes, that is the biggest thing that I'm scared for when it comes to Conor Benn. That weight cut is going to make him so susceptible to getting just completely select and stopped in a way that could be dangerous to his health. That punch resistance is going to be so demoralizing. Mario Barrios is an incredibly tough fighter, and he was able to, after the first knockdown, still withstand the power that we were seeing from Ryan Garcia, but still it was affecting him. That's Mario Barrios. If we talk about Conor Benn, who has been, with all due respect, getting worse and worse every single fight, This can be significant. This can be significantly more dangerous. Alluding to also the fact that this cat said, "This is my last fight at 147." It makes me think, in all honesty, with all due respect to Conor Benn, he had no business coming down here to 147. If this is how you're thinking, this is my last fight. This your last fight at 147. After you're moved out of it, in all honesty, you had no business coming back. If you're already saying I can't do this no more, this is not a good sign of somebody who is trying to beat and have the biggest win of his career. With respect to the trilogy, outside of the legacy fight with Eubanks, getting that win, getting that fight, that was the biggest outright fight that he's had. Absolutely. But this will be the biggest name without question. And the biggest monetary move to shift his career to a whole new stratosphere. And you're already signifying, this is my last fight up here. And even by this promotional picture, you don't look good. Just by this picture, you don't look like you need to be at 147 in the first place. I don't like where this can go. I don't like where this can go. I really don't like where this can go. Because all else fails, and he does fail and fail hard in this fight. One loss is already people are blowing you off, not taking you as seriously. 2 losses, that gets even more scary. Ryan Garcia said it best in his own words, but if you get 3 losses in your career, you might as well retire. Now, I don't think that's actually the case, but for somebody that's a superstar level talent, that's how Ryan Garcia's thinking. He knows the value of having as many or as few smudges on your resume and legacy. This is somebody from the top looking down as a superstar. Conor Benn, we've been saying he's one of the biggest signings that Zuffa got. But in the grand scheme of boxing, he's still ain't at that level yet. Polarizing, absolutely. Can sell, no question. But starter still levels to that game, even if he is in the game. His second loss, this especially if it's bad, this could shake some things up in a negative light. It really could. But I digress. We want to make sure that we get these last couple chats before we move on to the next question of the show. Real cool. We have some new people in the chat, like Jerome Holmes. What's going on, Jerome? How you doing? Good to see you. We thank you so much for tuning in and listening to our show. Boxing these big events. Boxing is in life support in America. So, this is a good conversation to have for the championship rounds. So I do want to get to Terry Moana and Keyshawn Davis. I'll answer this real quick and I'll double back afterwards. Boxing in America had a resurgence from 2023 to early 2026. People actually care. We had big fights left, right, and center. It has been on the rise. It hit a wall, but it's on the rise. It was on the rise for a clean 3 years. The UFC, by their own fans' statements, is the one that's on life support now. This is from the inside saying this is what's going on with that promotion. It's kind of flipped. UFC was on top. Boxing was on the downtrend. Now boxing's further on top, and UFC, because of the lack of operating stability, lack of paying fighters, lack of making new stars, and a all-around lack of focus by Dana White on their own product in the UFC, set by their own fighters in the UFC, they've lost the plot of what made them great. And now they're getting the types of cards that we were saying we hate. They're getting the types of bad situations of consistent level production that we were saying in the boxing world, we wish we were the UFC. It's completely flipped to a 180 now. We're not on life support. Thank goodness. We got out of that. Thank the Lord. But I'm going to tell you this, we can quickly get back there. We can quickly get back there. It's entirely possible. We can quickly get back there. The recent situations have only taken place simply because boxing has been just about had two major fights back to back fall apart. And everybody's saying, oh my gosh, the biggest instance of fights that we wanted to see happen twice with Keyshawn and Shakur, just they both quit, backed out, didn't want it to take place. What the world? That's not what's been the story of the sport for the whole of its resurgence. But the recency bias is out right there. Because if you want me to rattle down the names, Inoue versus Nakatani, Tank versus Ryan Garcia, Canelo versus Crawford, Crawford versus Spence, Crawford versus Sean Porter, which was a great fight. We were saying on and on and on and on and on. Benavidez versus Zerto. It's been so many undisputed fights. Title fights between two top-level stars. Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia. Devin Haney, Brian Norman was a big-time feature. It's been there. This just off the bat. The globe's been moving. Tyson Fury versus AJ is getting ready to happen. Usyk versus AJ. Usyk versus Fury. 2. Bevo better be if. I mean, We've had some good fights. Lamont Roach fought Tank, and then it was a shock. Afterwards, he fought Isaac Cruz directly after. Then he fought Cepeda, back to back to back. A star who became a star kept on fighting other stars, and people cared. Moses Atalma has been making big noise, and everybody's been wanting to see, hey, buddy, we got another star that's elevating up. Boxing's been better than what? The recency bias has made boxing look bad. But boxing's been better over the last 3 years than we've seen in the last decade. I've said this years ago. Thankfully, it's been on an uptrend, but it was bad. But it's a whole lot better now than what it used to be. Thank gosh. Thank gosh. Thank goodness. But before I got to make sure I keep going. Let me address the situation of I think it was Teddy that said this earlier, addressing the situation of the heavyweights, Terra Moana, T-Squared as we call them, in the ranks of moving up as a dominant force. I cover this because now it's something that we do need to actually look at. Because with Moses Atalma and the old guard of Usyk and Fury, AJ, Wilder, all of them going away, heavyweight division still needs some new stars. And it looks like we're getting ready to have one in Terra Moana. It's brother from this Samoan cat. Still with 6'5", 6'6", 270, something like that. Arms like an orangutan, but he got power like with the best of them. Just had another knockout against Savage. What is he, 12-0? I think with 11 or 10 KOs. Has been on the streak. Hasn't putting people to sleep. And we were discussing, or rather we were looking and saying this cat could be not just a prospect, but eking into the caliber of dangerous talent that Atalma, Daniel Dubois, Hergovich, and others, Caballel, and others are going to have to worry about when this next generation of heavyweights fully takes over. We talk about Richard Torres, who got knocked out to Kingdom Come, and that brother, his run as a prominent prospect in the heavyweight world, that got put to pasture after he got knocked out by Frank Sanchez. Now it's done. To fill that gap, people are trying to put Terra Moana in this situation. Terra Moana, if you haven't seen, is a very exciting heavyweight. Fighting, I think, locally out of Australia. This cat has something in him. He's got something in him. He ain't the quickest brother. Fundamentally, he's decently sound with his punches. That right hand of his has turned into a nightmare for most people going into the ring with him. He's ending fights in 3 rounds or less consistently. I'm dead serious. However, the biggest thing that's been a detraction has been the competition. Yes, he's been fighting against uber athletic names or uber great names. Neither did Moses Atalma. Neither did Richard Torres when they were building up their resume. However, now we're at a different conversation. Because this dude is now 12-0. And this dude is now pushed to the light as you are at the threshold from prospect to contender. It's about time we make some moves. And it's about time things get shaken up. I'm not saying it's now or never, but the transition starts. Just like with the Talma, it's going to start with Terra Moana. And because it's starting with Terra Moana, it's giving me some concern that we may see another situation like with Richard Torres, where a cat who's incredibly touted, incredibly high, incredibly exciting for people, all of a sudden gets put into a whole different pasture, a whole different conversation in a bad way. And everybody's saying the same thing. This guy had something special, but it falls by the wayside. This dude right here, you need to keep an eye out on. Because if he does pan out, he is going to be looked at as the new giant of the heavyweight division. And by giant, I'm talking about same way Tyson Fury was seen as 6'9", 6'8", 270, too lumbering for anybody to deal with. He's that same way. But he's not a mover. He's a power puncher. He can be that kind of new, indomitable wall. But there's too many things that are tested to say that aren't tested to say for certain. His dealing with speed against other boxers, him dealing with power against people that can actually get to him, and his gas tank. The three most basic but biggest concerns about Terra Moana is the fact that now this next from 13 fights on, in terms of this next fight is going to be his 13th fight. He's going to need to show not just levels. He's going to need to show levels against a different opponent. I don't want to see somebody that is 290, 6 feet flat, and with all due respect, out of shape, and can't really do anything to make a difference in the fight. I don't want to see somebody that has a losing record going into a ring with him. You're building up a fighter. You're building up a star. You're making a new name, no question. And this cat's looking like he can fit the bill of what this build of name is going to be. But what needs to change is his approach to fighting a more diverse organization of competition, and how he can respond to levels that are at his level. Because the real situation with this cat, he may be a glass cannon, and we just don't know it. Great puncher, great size, all this stuff. Ain't the fastest, has average to good level speed. Combination punching, I love. One hitter quitter power, I love. What I don't love is the concern that this cat, once he does get to that echelon of talent, he ain't gonna be able to succeed. More importantly, if you aren't testing him now with something that makes him have to do different stuff in the ring, or somebody that, hey, if you needed to change, this would be the fight to do it. Like against a Raheem Jr., it would be, now's the time to show either you got different levels to your game, or you got the capacity that by yourself, without needing to change, you're just an unstoppable force. But we got to get some people that got some rapport now. I don't need a big time name. It ain't got to be a former champion like Dillian White. It ain't got to be, definitely don't need to be a Big Bang Jang or somebody like that. But it's got to be somebody whose talent, even if their name is not big, their talent is built to give him problems. Because right now, if he gets to 15-0 and he's still fighting this level of competition, I'm not going to be confident this cat can be a champion. Because I'm not going to be confident that his skills are evolving and translating above the level of fodder. And with all due respect, it's been fodder that he's been fighting. But Atalma showed more against the fodder than Terra Moana. I think he's a better, because he is a better fighter. Terra Moana hasn't shown as much stretched out ability to give me faith against him, okay, I can see the vision that this cat, once he really pops the clutch and get his stuff going, he's going to be up there. I can see it now. I can't see that right now. The evidence, even against bad competition, is not showing me anything more than this guy's got knockout power. And that's phenomenal. That's incredible. That's not something just to overlook. But we also know that knockout power is not enough. At some point in time, stuff's going to hit the fan and you got to make something shake in a different light or be so dominant doing the same thing that it doesn't matter. Your style or your power has to be so far and away above the world that, okay, it doesn't matter if I don't do anything different, it can still gonna be the same result. Against Terra Moana, I'm not sold on that yet. At least not early. It's not me being a detractor, but it's just a warning. To those of you that are having this man as an incredible force in the division, have him as that. But be very mindful. He has not shown to me the things necessary to separate him from the other prospects that are turning into contenders. And he is 3 fights away from being in that same board. Because on average, once you hit fight 15, it's time for you to start making a run at a title. Once you hit your 14th, 15th fight, on average, it's time for you to start shaking things up. It happened with Roy Jones Jr. Elevated in competition once he hit fight 15. Talman, we watched his whole career. It happened to him once he hit fight 15. Crawford, once he hit fight 15. Might have been a little bit earlier because, again, he was so great. But those are the checkpoints in boxing. Right now, Terra Moana's been taking the same test. And it's been showing the same result, which it should be. But it's not showing a future that I can just trust and buy into at this point in time. Going against the rest of the world up until we see something different. And if we see something different in terms of, okay, that's what I've been looking for to show his skill and or physical frame is going to affect the Ajits, the Hergoviches, the Dubois of the world. F.A. Ajagba, Martin Bacoli, those types of names, he can give them trouble. He's got the ability to shake those up. Once he gets even better, it's going to be even more substantial. I haven't seen that yet. I'm high on him. I'm high on him, but I'm not sold completely. Not yet anyway. And Eddie Hearn, who's his manager, it's time to pick up the pace. You're working on stuff. Sure. You need to work on stuff against better people now. Because if this keeps on going, if he's still fighting the same level of fodder competition by the time he fights in his 16th fight, after that 15 fight threshold, we're in trouble. I'm not seeing any evolution, nor am I seeing enough one-track ability to show, okay, yeah, he doesn't need to change. I need to see something more. At least to me, I need to see something a little bit more in the framework of the boxing landscape. But again, that's just me and my thoughts and opinions on that situation. Just wanted to make sure I addressed that before we left into the other topics of discussion. Something else we wanted to discuss was Keyshawn Davis on this very show, which I do have a clip of Bill Haney that I am going to play in regards to shedding more light around the whole deal with Bill Haney and Devin Haney not getting in a fight with Keyshawn Davis. I'm going to play the clip in full so you can see exactly what was taking place. Let me see. Roach went on a nice run. Tank Pitbull, Zepeda. That's the type of guys that we need. Yep, you're right about that. Timothy Taylor, how you doing? If I didn't say hi before, it's good to see you. Thank you for showing up. When Turkey leaves boxing, will all the boxing promoters collude to lower boxing purses? Well, I don't think that they will, because Turkey's an anomaly that only Turkey's paying that type of money. Everybody else is still paying what they've been paying. I don't think it's been, Turkey's kind of bolstered it up. But I think boxing has always been, when it comes to, again, because of the Ali Act, boxing has always been able to pay their people what they deserve when they get to a certain level of stardom. Yeah, even when you're not at a level of uber stardom, you're still able to make good money once you get to that mid-level and elevating into the contending level. I don't think the pay in boxing is going to change if Turkey leaves. What I am concerned about is the camaraderie that when the influx of money leaves, because it may stay around, if it does leave, and that big thing of, okay, the fights are easier to make because the big fights are always there. And the big money is always going to be, hey, once I reach this threshold of mega fight status, I know I can get a fight with Turkey that can pay me 20, 30, 40 million dollars. And now it's easy to make fights with contending or rival promotions because everybody's under Turkey and everybody's going to get a huge chunk of the pie. Because there's so much influx of money, it would be a fool for me not to take this fight. And it would be a fool for promoters not to cash out on whatever their investment is. Because now's the time to actually make stuff shake. It used to be people hated each other. Now, they still may not like each other, but they're at least working together because there's enough money that we all feel comfortable. When that leaves, though, will they still operate the same way in terms of working together? Or are we going to get more side of the street discussions? I hope not. I hope not. But only time will tell. The fighter pay won't change. The likelihood of the mega fights we don't want to fall back into, we're waiting 4 or 5 years too late. Because now we're getting stuff where it's right in front of us. When previously that wasn't happening. I don't want to go back. Fans don't want to go back. But if we do go back, it's gonna be discussed. I hope we don't, though. I do hope we don't. Let me see. So his first and last name are the same? Yeah. Termawana. That's why I call him T Squared. Simple, easy. He's got power in both hands, and his name's the same. So T Squared. It worked out. Let me see. Xavier, how you doing? Good to see you. Xavier Navarez, we appreciate you on our show. Thank you for tuning in. Rest in peace to Pritchard Colon. Yes, he did pass away. I think yesterday, sadly, at the age of 33. Incredible story of perseverance and tragedy. But he was undefeated, got punched in the back of the head. I forget his name, black brother. I think his name was Tarver, or was it Williams? I forget his exact name. Illegal shots in the back of the head. In his first defeat as a boxer, caused brain hemorrhaging and made it so that when he woke up from his coma, he was never the same. But he kept on fighting through to get better, and was a story that the entire boxing world had been following as a source of inspiration and love and support. It's a shame that he passed away. That's why we care about fighter safety so much. And that's why we care about needing to make sure you get home after a fight. That's what we're always advocating for. Get what you need from the sport and get out if you can. Because stuff like this can happen. It was incredibly disheartening. But my gosh, man, it's still, in spite of that, he still lived a phenomenal life. And he has left his mark on this sport and an inspiration to millions around the globe, even in the light of tragedy that was befallen his life and career. And so definitely rest in peace to him as a phenomenal beacon of hope and perseverance for the entire globe, even beyond just the world of boxing. So it's a shame. So definitely rest in peace to Pritchard Colon. And we'll never forget him, because he's both a warning, signifier, and beacon of light that we all can look and say, that's why the sport needs to be better. That's why the athletes should be the main focus of what they get and what they deserve in their careers. And why we need to make sure, especially with these Ali X coming up, that's getting revised, this stuff does not cheat them, because that is what's at risk when it comes to life on the line. Life altering things can happen in this ring. So I've always, even with everything we're critiquing, we're talking about this sport, I've never over or underestimated the understanding that this is not disrespect, because anybody in this ring can die or be changed forever. Because you're risking your life for the sake of entertainment of the fans and chasing a legacy that is, yeah, it's great, but my gosh, you can't cheat the sport. And so it's shame. It really is a shame. But again, rest in peace to an inspiration in Cologne, no question about it. Timothy, you say, will Terrence Crawford be playing with fire if he fights Boots Ennis next year, being nearly 2 years off and almost 40 years old? Now, I think we discussed this yesterday. And the answer is no. Because that 2-year window will still be in line of him being able to be year-long rest, year-long recovery, 1 year to get his body right, and then I'm fighting next year full-blown. Did it with Canelo. 1 year, didn't fight at all. After Madrimov, then fought Canelo with the full years of recovery and getting in shape and making sure his body was ready. And you saw the performance. Even at 40, he'd be just fine. The talent, sure, we know, what would happen. But he's still within that window that if he's still within the Canelo training regimen. And he still is always in the gym, his words as well, because he's still working and is active. But he's helping Lester Martinez, working with other trainers. He'd be in there. It'd be a scary fight, but he'd be in there. And his ability to perform in there, it would be within the realm of possibility. After 40, though, now we get concerned. Once we hit 41, now we get concerned. Now it's like, okay, yeah, stay retired. But right now, it would have been, if that fight was to happen, it would be most likely when he was 40. Because he just hit a year out the ring with Canelo come September. So now, by the time he gets 40, it's going to be full-blown, hey, now I'm training for you after getting my body a year to recover. Just like I did for Canelo. Now it's time for me to work. So it wouldn't be out of the realm. He wouldn't be in the fire physically. He'd be in the fire from a talent perspective. But he would be ready. At least to me, I think he'd be ready, in my opinion. But I'd be excited to see it. But let me make sure we keep on going through with this discussion. The last big point of the day, Keyshawn Davis, of the main topics of this show, as we're getting ready to go into the championship rounds, is Bill Haney responding, or rather answering, the full question about what went on behind the scenes with him and Keyshawn in the fight falling through, and what the next steps are for him in his career going forward. And I'm going to play that clip right now so you can hear exactly what took place. And we're going to take some time to pause in some instances and answer some stuff or talk about some stuff and then play the whole clip.
It's the manager of Keyshawn Davis
with this conversation that we can delve into that makes it's something worse. And it's something that further shows me Keyshawn might be, you might have really shot yourself in the foot with this situation. I'm going to play that clip right now. Let me see. Father Time is undefeated. Michael Jordan could beat Paul Pierce at 39 years old, but Kobe scored 55 on him. I mean, yeah, now, granted, that was a little bit different. Still was averaging 25 for the injury on the Wizards. But clearly he was, depreciated as a scorer. But once you hit somebody like Kobe, young, prime, spry, but he got torched. Now the difference is Crawford retired as the best in the world. And he would still be seen, and if he was active today, as the best fighter in the world. The biggest thing that's been against this whole conversation, and again, I'm answering this quick and we can come back to it once we fully get into championship rounds. But the biggest thing about this conversation is the 2 years out the ring. What would that be taken away from Crawford? My response is that's exactly what Crawford did against Canelo. A year, no fight, and then later on the next year, I'm going to fight Canelo, take a year to get ready, and then I'm good. Now I can go and train the rest of the next year and I'm good, ready to fight you because now I'm working on stuff in the ring beyond just making sure my body's fit. That's how he's been operating. That is not the same as with Jordan, because Jordan was out, retired, came back, and they was like, okay, yeah, he really ain't the same. Crawford was still, if he was fighting actively right now, this would still be the conversation. He's 39-40. And people would still be saying it's Terrence Crawford. He still is the best fighter in the world. And nobody would be picking anything different. Most likely. Because let's be honest, if Crawford was looking for a fight right now, and Crawford wasn't nothing signed, and he was weighing his options of what he wanted to do since Janet Beck wasn't able to get a fight with Laura and 160 didn't become undisputed. Now, looking for a fight, taking time to see what optics are out there, but he has not retired. Would you still be saying he's the best fighter in the world? Most people, myself included, would be saying yes. But the same situation would have been he's just been out the ring. So I don't think it would have been a problem. Again, to me, I don't think it would have been a problem. But that's why we're here for the debate and discussion. But before we get to that, again, that's championship rounds, which is coming after this. Let me play the clip with Bill Haney, discussing this whole thing with Keyshawn Davis and the new viewpoints on why this thing fell through and what could have happened with Keyshawn making more money than he actually got on that actual night or on that contract. In an interview with Cameron and Mace.
Jay Prince, the manager of Keyshawn Davis, sent Keyshawn Davis to petition to the WBO for that beautiful belt right there. Mm-hmm. Right?
Right.
So while negotiating, I'm the manager, I'm negotiating with SHAKUR for a fight that ultimately would determine the pound-for-pound best in the sport on everybody's list. Dev is number one on my list. Everybody know it. But they're both on the pound-for-pound on pretty much everybody's list, right? So it would have been a great opportunity. While continue to negotiating with him, while continue to getting pressure from the WBO, this guy says, drop the belt. Drop the belt. So we figured it out. And our next message was, we're dropping our nuts and we're keeping our belt.
Okay.
And Keyshawn Davis became the mandatory. We went to purse bid, whereas he was offered $3 million for the fight. And I was hearing
that's what I was going to get to next.
So I was hearing that there might be a little bit of riff or static, because I'm like, well, he hasn't signed. Like, we don't have an announcement. Like, what's going on? So I reached out to the kid. The kid said, yeah, the OG reached out to me too. And I told him, get the fuck on. And the OG hearted it. I said, Nick, I was trying to come to see, was you all right if we had to give you some money, if we had to put an M on top of it.
Right.
So not only did you blow the 3, you blew the 1 that you might would have got from the OG. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Right?
Yep. So you basically saying he wasn't happy with the 3. You saying that you had another M possibly, and now what is your reason you thinking he's backing out? What's the reason behind it?
Debo.
Oh, okay. I don't.
Debo.
That's
It
what
was never. It was a fake out in the first place.
in the very first place. Sin, chime in on this for me, Sin.
This makes this whole situation look even worse. I'm sorry. This makes this whole situation look even worse from the standpoint of Keyshawn Davis. Because like I said, this is the last thing before we get into the championship rounds. What we just learned, again, from this clip, and there's more to it. And I'm going to play the second half afterwards. But what we just learned from Devin Haney, Keyshawn wanted more money. Bill Haney reached out to Keyshawn Davis to give him more money. That $3 million deal that would have been under Devin Haney Promotions before they went to purse bid, he was going to make it 4. He was willing to add another $1 million, which would have been significantly more than the over, was it $700K that he made at his last fight, or no, over the $1 million that he made in the biggest fight that he has currently had in his tenure in boxing. He was going to get $4 million from Devin Haney in that fight if he had just taken the first deal. Extra money given by the Haneys themselves to make this fight shake and to get stuff going. And then Keyshawn still went, I want purse bid. Then went down to 2.3. Then still said, okay, I'm still not taking the fight, and walked away. Do you understand now why I was saying Keyshawn Davis might have shot himself in the foot to make bank? Everybody that was defending this decision, he might have been looking to get more money. He might have been trying to leverage his play to get some extra shine. He might have been able to go and have a plan, a grand plan that everybody don't see coming. All of that's a bold-faced lie.
Hey, look at this. We got some problems here.
None of that's true.
We got some problems here.
None of that's true because he went and gave up $4 million per Bill Haney himself, which would have been 4 times more than he had made in his career for one fight. And it would have set him up at minimum, baseline. I can demand $4 million from anybody else because that's what I got for this fight with one of the biggest stars in the sport in Devin Haney. Boom. And if you beat him, I become an even bigger star. Now I can demand Devin Haney level purses, $10 million or more, $8 million or more. For big fights, $12 million. For a fight with SHAKUR, who knows what that fight would have been if the dream matchup of them two actually taking place would have actually happened. But it was there. It was there. And you just needed to say yes after what you said you wanted. And you backed away. Now Bill Haney, just like everybody else is saying, Debo is the man who runs the block. And you look like you were just scared of the fight. Because in no world would you not take a fight, $4 million, that would lead to an extraneous more amount of money, an extreme level of influx for the future that you could have made for this fight. And they were willing to give it to you to make stuff happen. Makes no sense to me. That's why I was saying, if this was no other extra extreme situations, except for that Keyshawn Davis just wanted more money. Excuse me. If it wasn't for any other emergency situation, and it was simply Keyshawn Davis wanted more money, he got more money and still didn't take the fight. It's going to be the worst decision he's ever made in his career. And it's going to go down as one of the most damaging decisions any boxer has made within the last 10 years of their own career to make themselves great. I'm telling you, it's going to be bad. They could have offered Keyshawn $7 million. He would have said $9 million. He obviously had to change of heart on wanting to fight for no good reason. That's the issue. The whole point comes down to is more evidence pointing to you pump fake after getting every demand that you asked for. Willing participants of your op in Bill Haney were willing to help you out to get this fight going and give you the money that you were worth, more money than you were worth. $3 million for the level that Keyshawn Davis was at was exactly for a star caliber fighter of his level against Devin Haney. It was worth it. And if anything, that 75 to 60 split, or was it that 75 to 25 split, because of that $4 million, would have looked more like 65-45 or 70-30, which is the same numbers that Usyk took to fight against Fury. And you ain't better than Usyk. And you sure enough are not worth $4 million in the grand scheme of boxing because you hadn't reached a fight to get you to that threshold yet, except for this one. And this was the one to do it. Like it makes it look like you never actually wanted to get the fight in the first place. And now, more than ever, people are just not going to trust you. But there's more to it than just a situation with Keyshawn and Bill beyond just the money. There's more to it that Bill Haney had to say in regards to this move and the signifying atmosphere surrounding Devin Haney that the boxing world is seeing. And I'm going to play it right now so you can see the second half of this segment of the interview.
I guarantee.
I think he want more money, Bill.
Hey man,
I think he want more money.
Hey man, I'll be in the win.
Nobody's scared.
I'll be in the win all
These are
night with the
boxers,
$1
Bill.
million, man. You hear me? I'll be in the wind right here all night with the $1 million, man. If you hear something different, you give me a call.
Bill, you kind of make us as a fan. You make us disappointed because you hype us up for these fights. Even Broner, you got Richard Hitchens, and y'all make great previews before the fights, and then the fights don't happen. And with Keyshawn,
you know what?
The fights don't happen. So as a fan, we get upset.
Sin, you should be.
That Richardson Hitchens, when you was on the Brooklyn Bridge looking for people, that was dope. And then we don't get the fight.
Sin, but you should be. That's why I call him Debo. When Debo come out, do you see anybody standing around? That's why I call him Debo. Now, you need to do the same thing and say that you're extremely disappointed when you have a guy like me running around pulling up on these niggas and they not standing on business. Do I look like I got a busted lip or a busted eye or I done did something wrong? I done stood on business and they know that I'm doing the right thing. So I don't mean to get you excited. I don't mean to get you excited. I don't mean to get you excited.
So Hitchens just called you out again after his fight. Y'all gonna answer that or it's gone by now?
Well, I just told you I got this one guy that I'm on there. Hitchinson hasn't gone.
Jack Catterall?
Right. Jack Catterall is one. Liam Parle is one. Jack Catterall puts us in position for the Rolly Romero fight as a mandatory, right? Liam Parle puts us in a position to pick up the belts, to hopefully Boots does the same thing at 154 pounds, and we are able to have a mega fight in the future, God willing, inshallah, for undisputed versus undisputed. Undisputed versus undisputed at 54.
Okay.
What about Conor Benn?
I call him Conor Win because he hasn't did anything yet.
And Bill got all the answers, man.
No, listen. No. This is I'm telling you, because if you've seen the people that's with me, everybody just has a straight face. This is no joke. Everybody be laughing, but I'm serious as a motherfucker.
No,
we've been doing this shit.
That's why we is laughing, because we know you're not. We know it's not a joke a little bit.
No,
for you.
But then that's the thing is having what Sin says is having the composure and the wherewithal and the patience in this sport, because they've done a lot of things that I spoke on when you have ownership and entrepreneurship, something that Cam has experienced with all the various brands that he worked with. You know what I mean? So I always salute the guys that are paving the way. But remember, there's nobody jumping out like Bob Arum taking credit for it, Sam. There's no De La Hoya taking credit for it. There's no Floyd Mayweather taking credit for it. So our journey and our road is tough. You know what I mean? So you just get a chance to see some of the frustration you see when I'm pulling up on these guys. It for us, sometimes it looks funny, but I mean, I'm actually doing my job out there, you know?
There we go. That was kind of, again, there's more to it to the whole interview. And it was very interesting. I wanted to play the whole thing so you could see kind of the full breadth of conversation as we can now jump fully into the World Championship rounds. To let you all have an opportunity to have your voice in conversation on anything and everything involving the world of boxing and beyond. But I played that in order to give you a full contextual view as to everything going down. There was a lot said in that clip. Number one, he is looking for Boots. It's confirmed down the line at 154. All that stuff about will that fight actually happen, Devin Haney and Bill Haney want that to happen at 154. Just like I said earlier, and he had said this way back, I think a couple of months ago, if Boots gets undisputed, Haney gets undisputed, whether or not you think Devin Haney can beat Boots, which I don't think he can, whether or not we think that's going to be the case is irrelevant. They're looking to make that down the line. They want that. He said that now twice. That's going to be one of their biggest plans. And everything involved in what we got right now. That's why he is called Debo. People just don't want to move when he comes out to say we want to fight. And glad that he checked the brother that was on the FaceTime in the call or in the interview to tell him, don't be mad at us because we're the ones actually trying to make the stuff shake. Be mad at the fighters that are jumping in and out of the ring and not taking the bait that they said they put out. That's the biggest thing that we need to have a real conversation with. The anger that a lot of times we see with fighting normally gets overarched to the boxers or the sport as a whole, when that's not the issue, at least for this point in time in the sport. We had a buddy Jerome on the show earlier talk about how he was saying, no, the sport of boxing's dying. And we addressed why that's not the case. And why the sport has been buried than it's been before, at least over the past decade. It has. However, these instances are shining a light on who do we blame for why we don't get the fights that we want. And normally it has been because boxing's always tripped over its own feet. Promoters and all this stuff don't want to shake things. The people get too money hungry and people don't want to work with each other. Behind the scenes kills the business and corruption ruins us all. That is normally the sentiment. But of recently, it's been, specifically with Devin Haney, it's not about the behind the scenes business. Because Haney Promotions, they work by themselves. Or they're their own thing, entrepreneurial, as he talks about. We're making stuff shake. We're looking to make stuff happen. We're ready to make stuff go. But when the fighters don't go and take their responsibility themselves, normally it just gets thrown against the sport as a whole instead of the individual. This is why one of the things I always say, keep fighters' feet to the fire. The blame, when it's time to be put against the fighter, should be put against the fighter. Because those in this situation are the ones that are stopping the progress that we want in this sport to take place. That's the issue. The blame should not be, we're mad at Devin Haney, we're mad at Bill Haney because y'all are involved. That's not the situation. Who caused this not to happen? Indirect that ire. Just like with business, just like with life in general. Revolution, as we call it, over with just in the world. Against the government, against a corrupt boss, against a negative organization as a whole, you go and attack the problem at the root. Don't just generalize it to the entire industry. You make change and everybody else operates differently because somebody got targeted directly and now they're having to suffer the consequences of a bad reputation or getting arrested for their crimes because it wasn't just put up to, oh, the sport is bad. No, this person was bad and they got dealt with. And if you move in the same way because you're operating in the same negativity, you're going to get dealt with in the same fashion. You don't want that. And you see, we're willing to do that. So we're going to make stuff move so that we don't have to experience that again. The blame makes people move different. Because the blame causes accountability. And accountability affects the fighter directly. Money gets affected. Opportunity gets affected. Time in the sport gets affected. And the willingness to go and retire with everything that you dreamed of gets affected when you're held accountable. Not chalking it up just to the game. Attacking the perpetrator. Or rather, holding them in what they caused. If we do that with Keyshawn, other fighters will see the story of a man who had everything at his feet and twice threw it away, and the second time he threw it away, he was never able to recover. Or it took so long for him to recover that by the time he got to that position again, potentially he won't be able to win because he isn't the same guy. So now, I don't want to run into that mode. If I call somebody out, I'm going to actually fight him. Instead of crying wolf and calling bluff. Point the blame where the blame's supposed to be. Because when you do that, it helps the sport as a whole grow Because now the people that are paying, the pockets that are aligning the pockets of the fighters are the ones that control the destiny of what the word you're going to make. We affect that, we can affect how fighters actually move in the way of not just legacy driven, but also don't be the issue for no good reason. Because right now, that's what Keyshawn is right now. He is the issue and a thorn in this whole problem. Almost everything revolves around him not taking a fight, which is a shame. Let me see, is Devin versus Boots bigger than Devin versus Shakur Stevenson economically and action inside the ring? Not yet. Not yet. It's not yet. That fight would not be ready to eclipse Shakur versus Devin up until Devin moved up to 154. Because it would be a huge fight. Massive. But what Shakur and Devin has is a story. More than a story, they're connected at the hip in some regards. We followed them getting ready to fight each other since 135. It's 2 weight classes in 3 years, or in 3 to 4 years after that, and they're now closer than ever. That was going to be one of the 3 biggest fights of the year. Devin Haney versus Boots would be a massive surprise, absolutely. But I think the going sentiment of the grandeur of the fight would still be Shakur versus Haney if that happened first, because of the amount of story, the amount of context, the amount of jabs, drama, and outright connected careers. It would be something that people that don't like Devin Haney would want to watch it. People that don't like Shakur want to watch it. And people that have been looking to say this guy is the best in the world, they would clamor to see. Especially with the momentum of both of them having some of the best performances of their careers off the backs of championship wins. Yes, it would be huge, massive, major, with all of that taken into account. But Boots is, it's going to sound crazy for me to say, and I want to make sure I say this deliberately. Boots is a more exciting fighter than Shakur and Devin Haney. However, Boots Ennis is not a bigger star than Shakur and Devin Haney. Though he is seen as somebody that everybody wants to witness. He is one of the future faces of this sport. He's right in contention to be one of the faces outright of this sport. But as a name, entity, as a collective person in boxing, he just got here to this level that Shakur and Devin have been on in notoriety and having their names running the sport, or part of the ecosystem of what's shaking up in the boxing world. Boots' biggest thing is Terrence Crawford and Ortiz. Absolutely. But he's not been connected to the grandeur of names and talent and time like with Devin Haney or Shakur. It still is a different atmosphere and notoriety. Though Boots is one of the hottest things out there. That fight with Devin Haney would still be incredible bank. But I don't think it would be as big, at least not yet. Now, the reason why he said down the line is because if Devin Haney became undisputed, and he is saying, all right, I've done everything down here, and Boots became undisputed at 154, well, now that would be a fight that would have time, that would have context, they would be connected for multiple years, and both of them would have been saying those are the only two that can beat each other. Who's going to come out on top? Devin Haney needs to move up to 154, and Ennis has now topped out at 154. can move up to 160, but the guy who would have been the biggest threat that we were talking about, if he gets up here, I'd want to see that fight, is now there. You got to go take that opportunity. Similar to Inoue and Nakatani. Though in this situation, it's Devin Haney is the Inoue of this position, not from a skills perspective, but from a name perspective. Hey, I've now officially arrived here. You're the biggest op that could potentially beat me in a clash of styles that would make incredible sense. And now you've reached the accolades to make this fight huge and on my level of legacy. Now we can make stuff shake. Now that fight with all of that will be bigger. But it's going to take some time. The shock would be incredible, but the grandeur of the fight, I think because of the story that we've had with Shakur and Devin Haney, I think that would be the bigger fight. I truly do believe that would be the bigger fight. A boxing needs Devin to beat Shakur because Shakur would never, ever fight Boots Ennis. Yeah, most likely. I mean, let's be honest. Let's be honest. If Shakur was in this same situation, based on what he's moving like right now, it'd be hard pressed to say he would ever get above 154. And I'm not saying that's bad, but I'm saying we would lack that pushing to be great, at least from what we see with him operating right now. And Devin Haney is a better character to write the story of this sport than Shakur at this point in time, because he's willing to be the protagonist, the antagonist, and the chance of him losing, no matter how high, he still is willing to say, I'll take the risk. More importantly, his loss to somebody else could amp up their fight as a whole, amp up their legacy as a whole. He can be a benchmark for somebody else to go and grow immensely. Now we got a new guy who's the guy, because he beat the guy who was formerly the guy. And I'm going to take that chance. I'm going to take that risk. And the fans are going to buy into it. Oh my gosh, he beat Devin Haney. Oh shoot, who can stop him now? He's now the new boogeyman. They're one of the best movers and defensive fighters in the world. Could not beat this brother in Boots. And now, who else is going to stop him? It's going to take 168. It might take 175. Could B-Ball beat him? Could Better BF beat him? Could he potentially get it to a point where he gets to even cruiserweight, dare I say? Benavidez, if he comes back down to 175, could he beat Boots Ennis if they ever fought against each other? But the list becomes shorter, all because one win moved somebody else's legacy up and down, and he was willing to be that potential gemstone in somebody else's infinity gauntlet. Or rather, infinity stone in somebody else's infinity gauntlet. Just the act of willing to try makes him a more compelling character for the boxing world to see. Because I'm moving and pushing and willing to say, I may lose, but so be it. We got to make stuff move. Plain and simple. If he beats Shakur, it would open up more doors to have fights down the line in the future. Then with Shakur moving, if he beats Devin Haney, I don't know what he would do after he beat Devin Haney. That's my biggest concern. That's my biggest concern with this fight. If we do see Shakur Stevenson beat Devin Haney, what happens next? What happens next? What happens next? Because based on how he moved in the past, what's he going to do? What would he do? If these same situations came up and the same rhetoric from Shakur came up after Devin Haney, what would he do? The answer is I don't know. Because 147 would be right with his weight class. We would say he can move up to 154, but he wouldn't want to move up to 154. But we would say nobody else in here can beat him at 147. But Ryan Garcia. But would he want to fight Ryan Garcia at 147? Excuse me, would he want to fight Ryan Garcia if Garcia moved up to 154, or would he try to get that as a catchweight? Would he fight Ryan Garcia at 147 in the same division? Or would he try to force a catchweight still? Would he go for undisputed? Even though we don't know, or we've heard him say he doesn't care about the titles. What, Murataya, would he ever actually fight him? Would he fight a Virgil Ortiz if he says, okay, I beat Devin, there's nobody else around here, 154. Well, that's too big. But you beat Devin Haney. At that point, nothing's too big for you, except for maybe Sebastian Fundora. We don't know what he would do. We heard Bill Haney put out a plan, though. I want Poro for a title, Jack Catterall to settle Rolly Romero. Rolly Romero, if he beats Teofimo Lopez, or Teo, whoever wins that fight, and then Boots Ennis down the line, if we get all the belts and he gets all the belts. We got a plan of action. You know what I'm trying to be about. We don't know what the world Shakur would be about, even with a big win. Because the last time he got a win that changed the whole course of his career, when he beat Teofimo Lopez, all of a sudden he stopped fighting. Or he stopped moving in that way that we were saying, hey, he's building a phenomenal resume. He's getting into a substantial amount of greatness. He stopped. He just stopped. And he had the big fights in his lap. Will that happen again? We don't know. We don't know. But with Devin Haney, if he won against Shakur, we would know what's going to happen next. Win, lose, or draw, we would know what's happening next. Shakur will be an unknown. He'll be and y'all know me, I don't like unknowns. Let me see. It's going to be hard to beat Devin or Boots Ennis by decision because the business of boxing needs to make them make multiple future big fights. I'm going to say this. The business of boxing right now is different than what we've seen before. The business of boxing now is cashing out when they're supposed to. Thankfully, they're not wasting time nearly as much as they used to. The business of boxing, however, I think now understands we can't just build stuff up. Because they built stuff up, look at what they lost out on. Okay, right now it's the fighters that are messing in, specifically the Keyshawn Davis situation of fighters messing up the opportunity that they wanted. But on the whole, we're finally getting Fury versus AJ before they retire. We got Wilder versus Fury 3 times. We got Usyk versus Fury twice. We have seen rematches, big fights still take place even after defeats, but it's because the movement of the sport is no longer trying just to build stuff up to the point that it's just a fever pitch. Because guess what? Everything is not going to be the biggest top 10 selling fights in history. But because we made it happen, because when it was supposed to, it turned into one of the biggest fights in history. The perfect example, Inoue versus Nakatani. That fight happened when it was supposed to happen. They were always a weight class behind, but they always said we're going to fight. Nakatani finally got to 122. Inoue was at 122. Inoue wanted to fight. Nakatani wanted to fight. They finally closed the gap, and the second it happened, they went and said, it's a done deal. We're making it shake. And they did not waste time, and because of that, it became the 4th highest gate in boxing history. They struck while the iron was hot, and even in defeat, nobody lost respect or the ability to make multiple big-time fights. We would still want to see Nakatani versus Benn. Nakatani against anybody at 122, Diego Higer or others, would still be big-time fights. There's still major things that can happen. And big fights that can take place at 122 for Nakatani. The loss or just the fight happening didn't take away from the opportunity to make other fights happen. Teofimo Lopez lost, and he had a mega fight with SHAKUR when it was supposed to happen. He had a mega fight with SHAKUR Stevenson when it made sense to have them fight. After a defeat to Kambosos, and after some bad up and down performances. Against Ortiz, against Sandor Martin, which he should have lost that fight in my opinion. Stuff can still happen. Without you needing to sacrifice, we got to make sure we get multiple big fights with multiple other people. If you're a star, you're going to get those big fights regardless. But wasting time diminishes your ability to maximize the amount of money for a fight that is supposed to be the biggest of big. This does not mean that you're supposed to go through and you just sit and then you just, oh, I'm taking the fight too early. But this is me saying when you're building up a career, making sure that, hey, one more fight, one more belt gets this grandeur even bigger. And then when we cash out, it'll be huge. I get that. I'm saying when we're talking about you waiting too long because you're trying to build it up too much, and the next thing you know, you're no longer able to get the same level of hype and cash out and production in what you can make, all because you waited too long to make this stuff happen in the first place. And you lost out on what would have been everything that you worked for because you did not strike when it was sensible to strike. Common sense stopped happening. And because common sense stopped happening, common fights that were supposed to be big time money never took place, or they were lacking in what they made. Lost the luster, lost the shine, all because you kept trying to push it further and further out, and it failed you. It failed you. And it's a shame because it shouldn't have. It shouldn't have. Multiple big fights could be rematches. Multiple big fights could be getting it back. We just need this stuff to happen. That's all. We see if it happens, that's all. That's the best that we can ask for. It's the best thing we can ask for. Make the fights happen when they're supposed to. And more big fights will naturally always occur. When you let common sense be the driving force in the sport, everybody gets paid more consistently because big fights get made more consistently. That's the biggest thing. And I think hopefully we're getting back to that. Hopefully we're getting back to that. But we are at 2 hours, 40 minutes on this show. We're going to do a last call for the championship rounds of our show on today before we end it off and get ready for Friday afternoon. So we want to hear what you have to say for the last couple minutes of this show. We're trying to be under 3 hours, but we want to make sure we give you a chance to say whatever you want in the world of boxing and beyond, to have your opinions, debates, conversations be heard and said throughout the world, to have your voice be added to our show and have your opinions be a driving force in this community. And if you don't get to say anything, hey, we're going to be back on Friday for the entire show being the championship rounds. So the whole driving force of the show is predicated by you, the viewing and listening public. But we'll see that on Friday afternoon. Right now, last call for anybody who wants to say anything in regards to the world of boxing and beyond. Questions, comments, concerns, debates. If you got something to say, speak now or forever hold your peace for the time being. And if not, we will go and end this show off with a bang and let you all have or enjoy the rest of your day. And we will return on tomorrow for more action and more fun and more discussions on the Welch Report with me, your host. So with all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, no wrong button. Hold on, wait a minute. Wait a second. There we go. This has been another episode of The Welch Report with me, your host, Jean-Luc Welch. We thank you so much for tuning in and listening to our show. It means the world for you all to come in and support on our stream. Thank you to Red for coming through. Red Moon coming through and giving 34 cents to the channel. Thank you for the alms to the Empire and everybody else who chatted on stream and participated in this show. It means the world to us. We love the support. We love all the interaction, and we want to hear from you even more often on our show every day out on our airways. We love you, we appreciate you, and we can't wait to see you all on Friday afternoon for more talks involving the boxing world and the sports world as a whole. Championship rounds will be on the tomorrow show, where you control the whole flow of this show. Be sure to leave a like on the stream before you leave. One like makes a world of difference to help grow this channel and to reach the masses all across the globe. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and share the show with everybody that you know, so we can keep on building this empire together. Subscribe and be a part of our community. You don't hit the notification bell so you don't miss a moment of what we have going on our show every 3 days out in the week. And for any other things that we do, you want to make sure you don't miss a moment of our action. If you can support this channel monetarily, we have Cash App, PayPal, links down below in the description, as well as super chats, super gifts, stickers, and the like, all for you to help support this channel, alms to the empire, to help us not just pay the bills, but to help us go through and edify this show, make it better for you all to witness and enjoy. Rate us 5 stars wherever you listen to podcasts all around the globe, Apple, Spotify, you name it. We are there, and if we're not there, tell us. We will get there, absolutely. And please enjoy the rest of your day and have a wonderful afternoon, and we can't wait to see you all on Friday. So I've been Jean-Luc Welch. You all have been absolutely wonderful. Be safe, be blessed, peace and love. Oh, we are out of here. Yes, sir. Salute to you. We're going to see you all on tomorrow. Can't wait to hear your thoughts and opinions, and we are out of here.